What's up, guys? So today I'm going to take you through a complete guide on how to level each type of midfielder, from an Anchorman DMF to a AMF that is a classic 10. So if we start off with the Anchorman DMF, this is my favorite playstyle for defensive midfielders. It's the only one I really use. There are some exceptions I make for destroyers, box to boxes, or orchestrators inactive, but they're in specific scenarios which I'll go through. But to start off with DMF Anchorman, the reason I think this is the best playstyle is because essentially they just sit in front of the midfield, and if the opponent plays a very direct pass very quickly, you'll be there to intercept. And they also follow your attackers a little bit and help there. So if you're having possession, you can pass back to them. So for that, the reason I level them the way I do is I give them a bit of dribbling. So when I do pass back to them, when I'm trying to sustain an attack, they have a little bit of ability to hold on to the ball and redistribute the ball to a winger with more dribbling ability. And then also when you're dribbling out the back, I want someone who I can pass to and confident they can hold off the ball. So if my opponent covers the passing lanes, he's there to hold on to the ball and carry it forward. Or if I get pressed by my opponent, I can kind of weave my way out of the pressure. Now, to help with this, though, the Anchorman's dribbling stats are never going to be amazing. To be fair, actually, this Rodri does have really good defensive stats, but he doesn't have the pace to, once he kind of, dribbles by someone, he can't stay ahead of them. But, yeah, you don't have the ability to, like, go Maradona mode and dribble through the whole team, which is why I recommend gamesmanship on my Anchormans. It's not a necessary skill. I'll go through the necessary skills in a second, but it is one I do. So that's kind of just to explain why I use Anchormans and how I use them. In terms of the stats, I would level them up. So usually I would still aim for 90 on every defensive stat. But if it's a scenario where it's too expensive, I wouldn't go for it, like with Gilberto here. Like he has 85 aggression here, and he, how many points I'd have to put another, does he get a boost on that? So I'd have to put another 2 points on to get to 90 aggression, which is 14 invested, which is going to be a lot of my progression points. And as I'm saying, they need to be able to dribble, need to be able to pass decently, and obviously being good in the air and fast will help too. So I just settled for 85 on aggression just to get the +3 boost. So it's not a necessity. This guy's the best defensive midfielder I've used in the game. It's not a necessity to have 90 on every single stat. And aggression on a DMF is important, not really, because they're going to be doing more intercepting than they are going to be doing tackling, and aggression will help with your ability to kind of close down an opponent. So it's not, they don't do as much closing down. They usually step up and intercept, or just sit in front of your defenders, and if a ball is played into the striker, they're there to intercept. So yeah, the process I'll do is I'll look at the thresholds. Let me just re-level him and show you a live kind of action. So first thing I'll do is I'll allocate, just see what we're looking at, and am I liking it? I mean, first off, I'm looking at that and I'm liking the 90 on aggression there. But if I have another look at it, I can see, look, we've got physical contact that can get to 85, and we've got what was it, balance, we can get up higher as well. So if we have a look and reset it, the first thing I'm going to do is, instead of saying, all right, we want 90 on every defensive stat, we'll get 85 on every defensive stat first, see what it looks like. And then I'm happy with that so far. Next thing we're going to do is get that speed up to 80, and then that balance up to 70 as well. So you can see there what we're working with. Then I'm going to try to get this ball control up to 80. Then I'm looking at the passing. I want that to 82 just for the low pass. The Anchorman DMF doesn't need a long passing as much. You play the ball into the Anchorman, and he should be under pressure usually, so you don't have time to hit a lofted, so you hit it into him to hit it back out to a fullback or a centre back who can then hit it long. So you're just worried about his low passing, really. So yeah, and then we're going to get that aerial physical contact up to 85 before the boost. And I've just made a mistake. I need 78 on the passing beforehand because the +2 boost. I had a bit of a brain fart there. Then if we do this leveling, we can see this is what it looks like. We have a little bit extra left, and then because I'm using Xabi Alonso, I'm going to give him the 80 on the dexterity / acceleration to get that to the next threshold. So that's kind of just an explanation of the process I go through, the tiers. For Rodri, Rodri's a bit of a special actually case, just because he is so unique in the dribbling ability. I just made sure I wanted him on 90 dribbling ability, and then also he has game changing pass, so I gave him super sub as well. So when I bring him on the second half, that super sub boost kicks in, and then the game changing pass boost kicks in as well. Now, if we're looking at skills that are necessary for an Anchorman, there's only 3 off the top of my head that are necessary. It is one touch pass, interception, and true passing. They're the only necessary ones. After that, I think track back is very, very effective. I didn't really like this Gilberto Silva when I first got him. Then eventually I put track back on him. I didn't even think it would be that. I don't know. I don't know why I put it on him. I think I might have got it randomly, and then he became the best. And the reason is it just increases their kind of AI defending involvement. So yeah, to put track back on your DMFs now. I don't have it on Rodri because I didn't know about that when I built this Rodri, so I don't have it on him, and I don't really use Rodri anymore. The only one I actually don't really use any other anchorman. This is the only guy I use. If I do use Rodri, I bring him on for the specific reason of I want that super sub and game changing pass boost, and I'm looking for a Hail Mary pass. So yeah, those are the necessary skills, beneficial skills as well as that. As I said, gamesmanship earlier. If you're a dribbler and possession player, if you play very direct, probably don't need gamesmanship on them. And then other skills, aerial superiority is good. It's not as necessary, but I think I did actually even put it on Rodri. Oh no, he started with it. Yeah, it's not 100% necessary. You can get away with a small anchorman, but if you can get it, it's helpful because if the long ball is played into the striker, sometimes your DMF can be the one to you know, go for the header instead and might lock onto him automatically. Now, do you need blocker? I don't think it's a necessity, but I do think it is helpful. The reason I don't think it's a necessity is because if you block with your DMF, you are doing it manually most of the time. And I think I'm good enough and not relying on matchup to manually block. Sometimes I just move them into the position, lightly hold R2, and not the full way, depending on where I need them, the little increments I need them, and then hit them. Hit the block, get in the way of the shot like that. You can actually see also I don't have 5 skills on Gilberto. I don't know what the last skill I would put on him is. I'm considering low lofted pass, but like as I said, they don't actually hit the long range passes that much in the way I play anyway. The anchorman is literally these guys here. This is the formation I play pretty much. It's these guys here that are hitting the long passes. So you're basically, when you play it into your anchorman, he's under pressure, you play it into him and play it back to the centre backs, and then they'll have space to hit the long ball. Acrobatic clearance is only good, or only necessary, sorry, if you use deep line on your DMF. In my current tactic, I usually don't think you need to use deep line on your DMF. If you're playing forward to back, if you're playing trade to back, though, it can be very helpful. Or instead of putting the deep line on DMF, you put it on the wide mids too. But that's not, we're not doing a tactic video, we're doing a video on midfielders. Now, the other play style is Destroyer and what was it? Destroyer, Orchestrator, and Box to Box. I think they're the active ones in DMF. If you're playing a formation like this, let's just imagine they're 2 DMFs, any combination can work. You don't actually need an anchorman for this combination. You can use any 2 playstyles, inactive playstyles, it's fine. There's 2 midfielders there that cover for each other. However, if you're playing a more traditional, let's just move him up here and him here. If you're playing like a 4-3-3, essentially, we'll just imagine this is a 4-3-3 midfield. I think you need an anchorman. Definitely not a destroyer and definitely not a box to box. Because when you have the ball, you don't want your player up here. And then the destroyer, when you have the ball, won't go up there. When you have the ball, he won't overlap, but he will come out here. He'll go laterally, he'll go side to side. And essentially, the anchorman or the DMF's role in this type of setup in the back line is if your opponent plays a direct pass to the striker into the feet or even into the air, but mostly into the feet, he's there to intercept it, because if your opponent plays a long ball to his striker, your defender, your centre back should be able to compete for it. If he plays one into the feet, usually the striker's in front of the defender, and the centre back doesn't have a chance. So the anchorman's job is to step in the middle. Now you can use an orchestrator in the kind of pivot position here, but only do that if you're a lot better than your opponent. What it will do is, instead of, if we imagine we're attacking, let's say the team is in this position here, the orchestrator will be up here and going side to side to help you kind of just create attacks. Like, it kind of does what you would imagine an orchestrator does, whereas the anchorman kind of just comes here, maybe out here a little bit and out here a little bit. They don't go as far up and as far to the side, so they're more ready for the counter attack in position. The orchestrator will track back into the middle as well when you lose the ball, so if they're out here, they will come into here, but they're going to be a little bit out of position. If you're playing someone lower rated than you, it's not a big issue, but if you're playing someone who's a high rated, he will exploit the, you know, in seconds he'll be up in his striker, the ball into his feet, so you need that anchorman there. Be ready. But like I said, if you're playing a 2 DMF formation, you can use anchorman, you can use destroyer, it all works. A really good combo is whatever your left DMF is or whatever, will have a DMF that's a box to box, because they kind of get forward a little bit as well. Do I have Mateus here? Oh no, I have him in centre back. Yeah, so you'd go up and down the pitch with him. So if we actually have a look at Mateus's build, For your box to box, you want someone fast because they're obviously going box to box. They need to get up and down the pitch a lot. But more importantly, I feel like speed. If you have not great interceptions, now I know Mateus has great interceptions. He's got great stats for it. But just imagine he didn't. If you have high speed, your interceptions don't have to be as good because you can make up the difference in your running instead of having the kind of defensive prowess. So Mateus is kind of like a must. He's one of them people that's always in the first 11 for me. The only reason I ever drop Mateus is because I'm just trying to rotate and have fun. Use Pirlo, use a more technically gifted player. But if I'm playing a proper game against a high rate opponent, Mateus is not leaving the team. So yeah, you want good speed on your box to box players. Now I love to dribble in this game. Pretty much every player in my every single position, I think about their dribbling. Even the centre backs. If you watch my video on how I level defenders, I play Vieira centre back. Look, 84 type possession. Who else do I play centre back? Like Beckenbauer here. Look, I gave him a bit of dribbling. So I love dribbling, but I didn't give Mateus much dribbling. Look, if we look at his build here, I only gave him 80. Now I had a build. I did a review of him where I had probably 88 type possession, and I didn't like it. The reason is balance can not complement, like make up for low dribbling to a great amount. If we look at player to be Kante, I did a review on him as well. One of the best dribblers in the game. Doesn't have the greatest dribbling stats, but if you look at his acceleration and his balance, you can understand why. So balance is very important for dribblers. Another player that I tried a very high dribbling build with, didn't really like how he dribbled. Then I switched it to lower dribbling and more balance, was Rumi, and then Rumi is a good dribbler now. So balance is very important for your dribbling ability. So when you're making a build for a midfielder, if you're thinking, okay, this guy's going to be a good dribbler, you don't necessarily have to level the dribbling, particularly if they're dribbling in this part of the pitch. Now, if they're dribbling up here, if they're dribbling up here and they're not running into the box, kind of, if they have the ball stationary and then they're trying to create a chance, yeah, you might need higher dribbling. If Mateus is overlapping and just continues running forward and he doesn't stop, you don't need the higher dribbling, the balance and the speed. And the acceleration should take him around. Now, for the skills you're looking for here, again, one touch pass, true pass, and interception. And 3 you need in every midfielder. You then need track back after that. It's the best skill in the game, I think, in terms of, if we're not talking about strikers. Actually, no, we're just talking about midfielders, actually, yeah. It's the best skill. It's the most underrated skill. Interception is the most important, then probably true pass, and then one touch pass, and then track back. But most of the players start with at least one touch pass, true pass, and interception. Whereas a track back is kind of exclusively for defensive minded players. Like you see, Mateus doesn't even have it. My Pirlo doesn't have it yet, unfortunately, and until I get it on him, he's not going to be like a main starter. Do any of my midfielders off the top of my head have it? Does Wilshere? Or did I put it on him? Yeah, I put it on Wilshere. Yeah, track back very important. Again, it just kind of gets them more involved in AI defending. Other skills than that, cut behind and turn is very effective because even if you've got a bad dribbler, let's imagine you have the ball on the left kind of DMF position here, and you're trying to set up Martinelli, and you're going to hit a long pass to him. If you face Martinelli, your opponent should react. He should go over and cover the pass. What you can do is load up a pass, and then do a cut behind and turn, Cruyff turn behind, and now Lamb will be completely unmarked. You can play a short pass to him. So cut behind and turn is amazing in the middle of the park for the midfielders, just because it'll allow you to pretend you're going to hit a long ball, or it might not even be pretending. It might be you think you're going to hit it, you notice your opponent's covering it, and then you hit the cut behind and turn, and now you have a free opposite flank to pass or dribble down. So yeah, cut behind and turn is very underrated. Double touch obviously is good, just because what I was saying, similar with the kind of running forward and not stopping, it'll help you keep your momentum. Now, we're kind of still looking at defensive minded midfielders. So if I was building a midfielder for Mateus, I would have the luxury of, on 8 points, he has every stat on 85, but he has the booster to get the 90. So if I'm building a defensive middle, I kind of just a hybrid box-to-box midfielder. It's not as hard of a rule. Like for Mateus, it was, okay, make sure you get him to 90 because you only have to put 8 points to get him to the 90 defending. If we look at another box-to-box like Enzo's stats are just way too low. So when I leveled him, I just got his aggression to 90. Yeah, aggression, like, I think aggression is also a very underrated stat. I never really hear people talk about it too much. If they do talk about it, I feel like it's more for the attacking players that have surprisingly got high aggression. I think aggression is really effective, and the reason I notice this is because if I look at Cannavaro is very short, but he's one of the best tacklers in the game. Vieira is very tall, and he's one of the best tacklers in the game. If you look at the video has Pepe done with the 14 leg length with the interceptions, I think the same thing applies to tackling. So how can Cannavaro be a good tackler? It's because he's got high aggression. If we put him in the team here, you can see he's got 96 aggression. I think Vieira has the same. Yeah, 96. They both have 96. So what essentially it will do is, this is how I view it. I'm not 100% sure if this works, or this is how it works. This is just kind of anecdotes. The aggression helps you close distance very quickly. So when you press tackle, you will jump into the space really quickly. Tackling, the stat is kind of how much your leg wraps around the defender or how far your foot can go. Like the length you can throw your foot out to tackle, whereas aggression is how quickly that foot will go out. So that's why I think aggression is something that, if that's the only stat you have high, it can be very good. Let's look at Enzo, very high aggression. And then look at Wilshire, very high aggression. Now, I want to re-level Wilshire, but I'll do it in a second. Actually, I need to talk about something else first to justify why I want to re-level him. And if we look at Bernardo Silva, he's going to be a more attack-minded one. He has phenomenal pass, so that obviously helps. But he has amazing passing, better than my other phenomenal passing player. Where is he? Pedri in goal. He's chilling in goals. But look at Pedri's stats, way better stats. Why is it? There's two possible theories. One, I put weighted pass on Bernardo. That's probably a pretty good example, but it shouldn't justify it's particularly the lofted passes I'm thinking of, by the way. It shouldn't justify the 87 lofted pass versus the 92 lofted pass, I don't think anyway. There's an alternative explanation, and if I go to one of my YouTube comments that I replied to, and it kind of will help explain what I'm thinking. So the Final Bell has asked a comment saying, Rock, how do you feel about passing ratios? Because to me, I don't feel any difference between 80 low pass and 85. 90, yes, but it's not enough to be warranted. But maybe Palmer, I think you meant to say having visionary pass could help with that. All right, so this is something that I have, went back and forth on a lot in my mind. A few months ago, I would have only ever leveled passing up to like 85 usually. Anything above 85, I never really did worry about. Then in the last 2 or 3 months, I've started to believe in passing again. So I went to 90. I think on Pedri, I went to 95 there. I think that was more for the 90 lofted pass. But anyway, I did invest more into passing, and I noticed improvements compared to when I was using 85 low pass, 83 low pass, etc., etc. But then recently again, I mean, with that Bernardo Silva example, I felt like, had it in my head, 88 passing is the limit. As in, if you go above 88 passing, I feel like I'm not noticing any improvements. And if we actually look at some of my players, and by the way, this is all, I'm only kind of thinking this recently, but if I look back on my players, this is what I've noticed I've been doing with the builds. 88 low pass on Vieira, 88 low pass on Beckenbauer, and then 88 pass on Bellingham too. So like I've just kind of subconsciously kind of arrived to the point at 88 low pass. And if we go back to my YouTube comment, there's actually a reason for it retroactively that I've noticed. Now, I can't find the exact source of this information. A while back, someone posted information like this, and it talked about how true passing gives a plus 20% boost to the low pass skill. Apparently, the Chinese players are really kind of data driven, and they figured it all out. I don't know exactly how, so I can't give it as kind of gospel, but I do kind of trust they do look like they're going in depth with it. So it isn't this post here, but I do remember low pass at 80. Or given a 20% boost. Now, if we look at my comment, you can see here, I was saying, a couple of months ago, I was using 82 to 85, then I went higher, and now I'm thinking anything. So my first thought was, okay, anything above 90 is excess. Then I did some maths, and then I looked at my players. Bernardo Silva 89 was better than Pedri, and then I did the 20% boost. So if we look at 88 low pass, if you multiply that by 1.2, 120%, get a 20% boost, it'll equal to 105. And then why is 105 important? Because the highest stat in the game we can have at the moment is 105. So obviously overalls can go higher. Messi's overall is 106 and his kick and bear is 103. Now you can level that higher on this screen. Okay, so you might think 103 is the highest level we can go, but it probably isn't. Well, it can't be, because if he gets the form boost, and we don't know exactly how much the arrows give for each attribute. Apparently lower stats get a higher boost, so that loft path 77 probably gets +6. Maybe the 94 gets +2 on the, or +3 on the very up arrow. But if we assume the form works at 103, it would make sense that a slight up arrow would put it to 104, and then the full up arrow put it to 105. So that's where I'm getting the 105 figure from. And that's where it kind of all clicked to me last night when I answered this comment that, oh my god, this is why I think I'm starting to kind of come naturally to the conclusion that 88 seems to be as high as you want to go, if you have true passing skill, obviously. But most players with passing that high should have it. That's why I think 88 low pass is kind of what I'd be looking for, and I think I'll be going forward kind of implementing that into my builds. Now, there will be times I go higher than that, and it's really just because I might have a leftover point, or I want the low or lofted pass to go higher as well. But if you're purely worried about the low pass and the true passes, I'm starting to think 88 low pass is kind of the limit you'd want to hit. So with that, look at my Wilshire. He has way too high passing, so we're going to re-level him here, and I'll show you the process again for Orchestrators. So this Wilshire is very underrated player, very good. So first we're going to reset him, and then we're going to do auto-allocate just to kind of have a look at what the auto-allocate looks like. It just gives me an idea of the kind of Konami's intention of the card. Look, they get 99 low pass. I don't think that is necessary. But again, though, what I'm saying about the passing, I'm not gonna come on here and say this is the way it is, this is the way it works. And if I don't have proof, you know, verifiable proof, I'm not gonna say it. I'm just gonna say this is my opinion and my kind of theory. But like, I'm gonna stick with it. It's just something I kind of naturally arrived at, and then luckily I kind of found a justification. So now I'm a bit more confident in it. So what we're going to do is we're going to get as many stats to 85. We'll get the low pass to 85. And then we'll get the aggression. So I had the aggression, I think, at 85. But because I had a lot more passing, I think we're going to be able to get that to 90 now. And then we'll go lower body strength. So actually we need to check what his boosts are to. His boosts are to kick and power, low pass, left pass, and curl. So we're going to want that kick and... Sorry, not the kick and power. The speed up to 80. We'll get to 78 to get the boost. And then with the balance, we're going to want to get it to 90 as well. So that's kind of the first step. So now you can see here. And the reason you want the balance is, again, because of what I said here with Mateus. Balance will help your dribbling a lot, although he does have good dribbling stats. And then aggression, again, will make him a just really strong and going into tackles, even if he has lower defensive stats elsewhere. So you can see we actually have a good bit of stats to work with. So we have a few ways we can go. I think what we'll do is we'll give 2 points to dribbling just to get the 90s across the board. And then I'm looking at the tackling. If we can get that to 80, it would be good. Although we could also try get the stamina to 90. Actually, do you know what? I don't worry about stamina. I substitute all my players, and I feel like if a player has 99 stamina, which Mateus has 98, pretty close. He's still tired by the end of the game. I feel like it doesn't really matter. I think it's a lost cause trying to worry about the stamina. So now we can either go kick and power up to 85, but then you can see we don't actually get that many points left, and we wouldn't be able to get the defending up as well. So if we could take off that lower body strength to where we had it, we can get the tackling to 78, and that would mean we can put the curl on a little bit higher and get that to 80 and increase the finishing as well. And because of how good of a dribbler this Wilshire is, he should get into shooting opportunities. And then actually, if we look, can we get the engagement up to 80 as well, and we can get the awareness up? Okay, so this build definitely looks a lot better. And then with this last point, we can probably take off the shooting, and well, look, if we go to 88, it's 88 after the boost. I think we're talking for the true pass boost. It might be 80. It might be 88 before the boost, though. That true pass plus 20% thing. If it's true, it might actually be before boosts are applied. We're gonna just bank on the fact that it's after, and even if it is before, he's already very high at passing anyway, so he's pretty close to the top. And then with these last 5 points, we can go into either physical to get to 70 physical contact. Do I think that's necessary? I don't think it is. I feel like I can out-dribble the physical aspect, and then we can go into shooting, and we can get the 80 curl, actually, yeah, and then we can go 1 point into physical. Now, I have a choice. I'm not going to get 70 physical contact. With form, I should, or I can just go into passing and, maybe push the needle a little bit in case it is before the plus 20% boost I'm talking about, or even if that theory just isn't what's happening and I'm just kind of placebo. would help. I think we'll go for the physical though, just so because even his passing should be good, decent enough level anyway. So this build looks a lot better now for me, and he will help out in defense quite a bit more. So yeah, for the Orchestrators, Orchestrator is also one of my favorite playstyles. It used to be my favorite. My current tactic doesn't really need it as much, and it doesn't help that I have Mateus now, who's really good. But I do love Orchestrators. So Wilshire, I did a video. I don't know if I did a video or I talked about it within a video, where I ranked every Orchestrator that I have, and Wilshire was very high up there. I think Xavi and Perlo were the only ones ahead of him. So this Wilshire card is amazing if you just haven't got him. So for the Orchestrators, what skills do you need? Again, you're going to be looking for one-touch pass, true pass, and interception. Those are the most important. Then I would be going for trackback. And then depending on what type of Orchestrator they flip, flap, and soul control be helpful. Just because of the level 3 double touch. So Wilshire's a very good dribbler. He's going to want to hit double touch very often. Perlo, I also have it on. Did I kick him out of the team? I think I might have. I did, yeah, but he also gets it because I gave him decent finishing. He scored a couple of goals after I changed his build to the shooting one, and he has very high weak foot, so that level 3 double touch can go onto either foot very well. And I'm waiting on that last skill again. I already talked about it, track back. So yeah, those are the skills that are kind of the necessary ones are one touch through and pass and interception. Then track back and the level 3 double touch aren't necessary, but a very big help. Another skill that's useful is gamesmanship. Now I don't have it on Wilshire. I probably would have put it on instead of long range curler because knock on finesses aren't as strong as they used to be. But soul control for the knock on passing, shooting, whether it's a long shot or a finesse shot, is very good on Orchestrators because, as I said, when they're on the pitch and my other attackers are high up, their Orchestrators moving around supporting the attack, and you can play it back to them, and usually your opponent's defense is pinned into his box. The Orchestrator has 2 or 3 seconds of time on the ball. You can set up a knock on and shoot. You can set up a knock on your opponent thinks you're going to shoot. You can fake it and dribble in or pass it in. So I think having the knock on the Orchestrator is very, or soul control for the knock on is very effective. Do I think weighted pass is good? I think weighted pass is actually pretty strong, especially on the phenomenal passing players. I have it on Bernardo Silva and I made him a game changer. What weighted pass does is it puts backspin on a true pass, whether it's on the ground or in the air. So it means when you play it into space, it'll kind of stop in front of your attacker more favorably. Next, we'll go to the wide mids. So if you're playing a 3-5-2 like this, what you want to do is have one wide mid that's more defensively inclined and one that's more attacking inclined. Now, Bernardo can actually do both roles. So if I wanted to start Neymar, who I commonly start, if I had Bernardo on the opposite side, I'd be happy. And that's the reason is he has track back and he also has decent aggression. And the way intercepting works in this game is if you're in midfield, as long as your winger's fast, they can intercept. Like Salah is a really good defender for me. If you watch my streams, you'll know. And same with GP and Mal. I won't be able to find them, but GP and Mal, and the reason they are is because they're fast and they are, particularly Yamal, they have a tall build, so they're able to kind of get ahead of the other midfielders on the opposite team and nip in and get the ball. So yeah, in terms of the wide mids, what stats are you looking for? Again, you're looking for, depends on what type of wide mid. Like if you're going purely attacking, it's going to be the same as AMF, which I'm going to be talking about in a second, or SS or left wing. If you're going for more of a box-to-box wing-back role, if the dribbling stat itself is better, let me find an example. Yeah, Salah is actually not a bad example. His dribbling is better than his ball control and tight possession. Well, rather, his dribbling's high. Dribbling is how fast you are with the ball, and it explains why sometimes your fast attacker gets caught by a slow defender, slower, because they might not have the highest dribbling stat itself. They might have good dribbling stats and good pace, but they don't have a high dribbling stat, so it'll help them get caught. The reason for that is, and particularly if it's the more defensive-minded one, is because you'll be able to run into space. If it's your more attacking-minded one, he should be dribbling inside, and he needs the ball control and the tight possession to kind of venture into the middle, where there's going to be more defenders. I didn't go back to destroyers actually. Let me go back to destroyers. I don't use them. Don't really like them. The scenarios I like them are in a double pivot, or in Vieira's case, I train him as a centre back and I only play him centre back. So again, you can play destroyers in a double pivot and work well. For the skills, essentially you're just going to be looking for high defensive stats and good speed, just to help them intercept and get there fast. You won't need good dribbling and you won't need great passing, maybe 80 low pass, just to, again, his job is to get the ball and play to someone more technically gifted. Okay, so next we're going to talk about attacking midfielders, creative playmakers, classic 10s, and whole player. The way I would rank these playstyles are creative playmakers very far ahead of the rest, then whole player, and then classic 10. I don't like classic 10 at AMF because they don't track back. They essentially have counter target on them by default, and I never use counter target. I like to press from the front, so it's kind of a liability for me there. I used to like classic 10 in the old kind of way they played at SS. I thought they were very effective in that way, but they've changed it and made them move more. And while I think it's better at AMF that they move more, I think at SS the way they were before was better. But anyway, that's a tangent. So the way you're gonna want to level these, it's pretty simple actually. It's the points that you would put in defending on the orchestrators and the box to box goes into shooting really. You're gonna be looking for good passing. And the reason Messi's passing is that high is just because he starts off really high. I don't know, I could put them points elsewhere, but when I get to my other video on attackers, I'm going to explain why I don't think you need to go above 95 finishing. So yeah, you're basically just looking for dribbling, shooting, passing, but doesn't have to be that high, and then acceleration and balance. The thing about the attacking midfielders is acceleration is more important than speed, because I'm going to create a playmaker specifically actually, because you're you're trying to just beat your immediate defender and then play the ball for a pass or a shoot, and then, or you can, if you use your body correctly, you can keep the defender behind you by putting your body in between him and the ball. A play style that people love in eFootball is whole player. So here's 3 whole players here, and I only really like one of them at AMF, and it's Bellingham, but I actually play him at SS. But Bellingham's the only one I like. I used to love Kaká. I used to be amazing. I think he's just a bit behind the power curve at the moment. And it's for one specific stat that Bellingham has over him. And then Maradona, I just don't think is really good at AMF whole player. He's best at centre forward, probably the best centre forward in the game in active playstyle. I know, I'll explain that in the attacking video. But the reason I think Bellingham is the best out of this bunch is because he has the very high weak foot. Whereas Kaká doesn't have the very high weak foot, he has high, and Maradona only has high. It feels like medium, to be honest, sometimes. And the reason the very high weak foot is important for me for whole players is because when you overlap with the whole player, if you're on the left side, you're best to continue dribbling down the left side. If you're on the right side, you're best to continue dribbling down the right side. So you need the ability, if you're essentially if you're on the left side, you'll want to be right-footed with a very high weak foot, because you can in and finesse with your right, or go outside and hit it with your left powerfully. Now, Kaká back in the day used to be a lot faster than every other player in the game. So even though he didn't have the high weak foot, he was good as a right-sided AMF because he was so fast that he could, when he was dribbling on the outside as a whole player or overlapping with a run, he was fast enough to just get around the defender essentially and then get one-on-one with the keeper. With how kind of boosted defenders have gotten recently, he doesn't have that pace advantage anymore, so he's kind of fell off a little bit. And then Maradona, I think he is, I don't know exactly what it is with him. I think I'm expecting too much from him at AMF, and I can't pass with him. I don't know exactly what it is. He's best at centre forward. That's all I can say. He's the best centre forward I've used in the game. So the way I would level whole players, what I'm saying there about the speed is very important. So you want their speeds to be decent, and then the dribbling stat itself to be good. Like if you look at Kaká here, he has 95 dribbling, only 90 and 91 ball control and tight possession, but he's got high speed, high acceleration, high balance. Important because you're kind of predictable as a whole player. You're kind of getting forced outside, so you need good balance to, if you're getting shepherded out, if you're off balance, you can hit the shot. But the very high weak foot is the most important thing for me. And then in terms of the skills, the main one you're going to want, other than true passing and probably double touch if you rely on it, is acrobatic finishing, because like I said, you're getting shepherded out, you're going to be off balance. If you shoot outside, you're probably going to be off balance, or if you shoot inside, you're going to be off balance. You need that acrobatic finishing to help with that. Other skills that are effective is Marseille turn. If you run down the left here and the defender follows you out, you can hit a Marseille turn and then dribble inside for a finesse shot. It's very effective. And the other skills you don't actually need one touch pass, in my opinion. I'm gonna get a lot of you arguing in the comments with me. You're gonna say you need one touch pass. Personally, I don't think you need it. 1-2 passes have kind of a boost to them anyway, and if you do the return pass, it's gonna be boosted. And the first pass is going to be boosted. It like locks in the animation, and the return pass is boosted because it's a 1-2. I don't think you need one touch pass on your whole players, because you're going to be, most of your passes by whole players will be a 1-2 because you're going to make use of that pace. In terms of the finishing, you only need about 88, I think, for midfielders that are going to be a goal scoring threat. I think you need a 90 for the attackers, but for the whole players, if you shoot a high percentage chance with a midfielder, it's because you've misplaced the opponent's defenders and you've got a clear shot on goal. Strikers sometimes have to shoot kind of with defenders still on them. If a midfielder happens to break into the back line, something went wrong with your opponent's defense. They should be able to stop it, but they have made a mistake, or you created the space, so the finishing doesn't have to be as high. But the kicking power probably would have to be higher because you might be a bit further out than the striker would be, where the striker can rely on more placing his shots with curl and finishing. Now, if we look at Classic 10, again, it's not a play style that I think is important, but for Classic 10, you just want good dribbling, good passing. The finishing doesn't have to be quite as high, but the kicking power has to be high, because if you shoot with a Classic 10, because they're stationary in front of the, just in front of the box, if you shoot, it's probably going to be a long shot. So you want good kicking power and good curl. You want good balance too. Now, very high weak foot is it's not only for shooting, it's also very good for passing. So very high weak foot on a Classic 10 or any attacking midfielder you're going to be passing with a lot is very good. So I kind of went on a ramble there. Went on different lots of different areas. Actually, one last thing is when I'm leveling the players, I try get 90 on the dribbling. The two dribbling stats I first try get to 90 are 91 ball control and tight possession. I know I said how important the dribbling stat itself is, but you usually, how do I say this? When the dribbling stat in relation to the ball control and tight possession tells you a lot about the player. If the dribbling stat is higher than the ball control and tight possession, it tells you that Konami think this guy is a fast player who bursts into space. So their speed will usually be higher. You'll notice that if you look at players with higher dribbling than tight possession and ball control, they usually have good pace. If it's lower, let's look at player like, would Baggio be an example? All right, Baggio is similar. So Baggio has good, well-rounded dribbling stats, and the acceleration and balance are good, but his speed itself isn't great. And then a player like De Bruyne here, this is a good example. His ball control and tight possession are quite high, but his dribbling's a good bit lower, and you can see his pace, it's quite lower. So the dribbling stat in relation to ball control and tight possession tells you, is this player fast or slow usually? So the way I level the dribbling is, first, just try get the ball control and tight possession to 90, and that will kind of let you have an idea if the dribbling is higher than 90. If the dribbling's higher than them stats, now you put points in the pace, and then if it's lower, don't worry about the pace too much. If we look at my build now, I do have too much passing in this because it's from before I had this kind of revelation about passing. So if I were to rebuild him, I will do it now actually. We're going to get the ball control and tight possession to 90. Actually, probably leave passing as it is. Yeah, 85 curl. Actually, I'll go 78 finishing for the moment. 85 on the kicking power, 70 on the balance, 78 on the speed. Then we'll go 78 on the balance there. And then these points that we have extra can go into, see, we can do that into shooting, or we can, I know I'm saying don't worry about the pass, but it's only 2 points. So if we go like that, and then he'll get +3 to 85 finishing. Yeah, I mean, I know you can go more finishing, but on my attacking video, I'll explain more in depth why finishing should just be 85 or 90. It shouldn't really, or 88, sorry, 85, 88 or 90. You shouldn't really go 86 or 87. And the last that can go into is, we'll just go another lower body and then another dribbling. And then one last thing, I know I'm rambling a lot and my thoughts are very disjointed. Chip shot control helps with through balls. Well, I don't know if it helps, but it does impact it. It'll do a scoop animation instead of the normal traditional one. So if you've ever heard someone say chip shot control on a passer and you're wondering what they're talking about, what they're thinking, that's what they're thinking of.